today we're going to be making a quick miso ramen. It's not going to be quite the same as an actual ramen, but this also won't take a whole day of boiling bones. I'll be using red and white miso, along with some black bean garlic sauce, some minced garlic, and some instant dashi mix. You might see here that there's a bottle of XO sauce here as well, which I never ended up using, but I might use it if I try this recipe again. Being a quick budget ramen, the toppings are really what you have on hand, but for me, in my ramen, I gotta have my eggs. Take a few eggs, depending on how many you want to eat, and put them in a pot of water, ensuring that the water covers the eggs. Bring the water to a boil. Once the water starts boiling, set a timer for 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes are up, immediately remove the eggs from the stove and place the eggs in a cold water bath. In a decent sized pot, add about 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. Add about a tablespoon of your minced garlic. Then you're going to want to add your red miso and white miso. I used a tablespoon each. If you only have one type of miso, just use 2 tablespoons. Then you're going to want to add your black bean garlic sauce. If you don't have this, any kind of chili bean sauce would work as well, or even gochujang if you have that. Once your ingredients are fairly well mixed, add about 3 cups of water into the pot. Make sure you finally mix up the ingredients, as you don't want any chunks floating around in your soup. Now that we got some liquid in the pot, this is where I added about 1.5 tablespoons of my dashi mix. Then you're going to want to add about a couple tablespoons of chicken broth mix. If you have the liquid version, that works too as well. Just pour it in there and use a little less water at first. So at this point, I was still noticing a few chunks of miso. You want to make sure everything is blended up there. Don't be me and actually use a whisk, and I'm sure this will make it go by a lot quicker, but you'll basically know when it's done when you don't see any of these chunks anymore. For our last step, we're going to add some soy milk to this. You're going to want to add about 1/2 cup roughly of soy milk into the pot. Now this is supposed to make it more rich and give it more body, a substitute for the milky broth you're used to seeing in regular ramen. Add a tablespoon of sugar. And add a tablespoon of salt. At this point, the soup is basically done. Just let it simmer for a few minutes. During this time, I used it to peel the eggs, which by now have cooled. So when I started peeling these eggs, I noticed that I probably should have waited a little bit longer before peeling them, but the end result was still good. I just ended up with 3 eggs instead of my original 4. At this time, I also started working my noodles. You can use any kind of noodles you have on hand, even instant ones. Here, I just used some store-bought organic ramen noodles I had. While the noodles were cooking, I got my toppings ready. This is a budget ramen noodle, so I was just using whatever I had in the fridge. I had some chicken and leftover Chinese sausage, so I used that as my meat. When the noodles are ready, spoon about 2.5 ladles of soup into the bowl. Here's my attempt at making the budget noodles look a little bit nicer. Then you're going to want to gently place your toppings into your bowl. If you have it, you can top this off with some chopped green onions, which would go wonderfully with this. And that's it, you're done.